Hello class, this is Mr. Broussard and I'm sending you this video for I will say the 13th and 14th weeks of this Composition 1 English 1114 course for the fall of 2020. I say both of those weeks because there will not be a video next week as I will not physically go on this campus. No one will. The campus will close actually at 5 p.m. on Friday of this week, and I won't be here after 11 a.m. of Friday of this week for the Thanksgiving holidays. So physically, campus is closing. Though this being an online course, technically the course does continue even through holidays. But I set up the course to where it's fairly self-contained at the end anyways. I've been going over all the different little things you need to go and do for this research essay, so I kind of give you a little heads up here and everywhere. So there's really no need to send a new video for next week. In particular, I'll try to get anything and everything loose and ties up with this video, and then the ultimate completion of everything in 2 weeks when I send that video. Because believe it or not, you basically have the rest of this week, all of next week, and then the following after that, and there's the course. That's everything. I mean, I just looked to myself, and you only have 2 more assignments left in this course because y'all completed your last journal. I do believe it was last week, or yeah, last week. So all those are graded. And you only have 1 regular essay left, and then also the final exam. The final exam will be done on Respondus Lockdown browser and webcam, so that's it. First thing about that final. I initially had a passcode for you to get in there. You'd had a passcode both to get into the final and then to be able to access the Respondus Lockdown browser through it. I went ahead and scrapped that because we've had some issues with that. I had students in one of my other courses. They have a Respondus quiz this week. They actually opened up last week, and then on Monday I received messages saying that they were having trouble accessing. So I just dropped any and all of the passcode, so you don't have a passcode. You just go in and you do the final. Technically, the final opened up 2 days ago. So you may have seen that. You have the instructions that are there for you to do. I will go over a little bit right now just to make sure, because I mean it is something that it's not due soon, but considering I say 2.5 weeks, but really we only have a week and a half to where I will have access to you because of next week physically being campus being closed. So I was thinking that I should go over little things about this final that may be issues that you may want to do. First things first, I want to say this. Don't freak out about the final. Truth is, the amount of writing that I've had you do, this final should seem like a breeze. Some of you might freak out because you see time limit 120 minutes. So wait, you're expecting us to write an essay in 2 hours? Yes. And some of you might be like, how would I do that? Truth of the matter is, if you prepare yourself the proper way, you'll be done with this thing probably in 70 minutes. Partially because you'll be prepared going into what you need, so you'll immediately know what to write and how to get it down. And 2, quite frankly, like I said, I've had you write a lot more than this. I mean, you've already written a 700-word essay, a 900-word essay, an 1,100-word essay, and you're working on a 1,300-word essay right now. This final exam doesn't have a word count, but all I'm asking as far as content count, which is basically what I want from the final, I ask for 5 strong sentences per paragraph and 5 strong paragraphs, and that's it. There is no word count, but it usually runs about 660 words. Well, every single essay you've done so far and are in the midst of doing now is more than that. And again, there's no official word count, but you need at least 5 strong sentences in each of these paragraphs and at least 5 strong paragraphs. Have a proper thesis paragraph, have at least 3 body paragraphs, and a proper concluding paragraph. You can always have more if you want. You can have more words if you want, but words, not an official word count on the final exam. Whereas all of your essays have word counts, the final exam doesn't. The reason being, and the reason I'm emphasizing the sentences and the paragraphs, because I want to see that you have those structure things down, the proper structure of a sentence, the proper structure of a paragraph. And so that's why I've placed more emphasis on that rather than just a blank word count, which I do for the essays and for particular reasons you need to be able to come up with that much content. But this essay isn't so much about the content. Content's important, but it's important and as a part of the whole, including the structure of sentences and paragraphs, including the structure of the whole of the essay. And then, yes, including checking, editing, and proofreading for grammar issues, spelling issues, punctuation issues, usage issues, comma issues, all those little things. So they're all work together, one in concert. And so again, no word count, but at least 5 strong sentences each paragraph and 5 strong paragraphs. You will use a variety of strategies to develop a thesis. And truth is, when it comes to the rhetorical mode, it is up to you. I will allow you to choose what rhetorical mode you want to do when it comes to the final exam. It could be one of the ones we use this semester. It could be one we didn't use this semester. It's wholly up to you, though my advice would be we use one we have written this semester simply because it's fresh in your mind. But it's up to you as far as the rhetorical mode is concerned. That's the kind of freedom I give you for that, because in general, I gave you the freedom on the topic, and then the rhetorical mode was strict. Now, the topic is going to be strict. You'll have a choice of 4 different topics to choose from, but then the rhetorical mode is really up to you. Whichever one you found that you had the most strength in when it came to the style of writing is the one you should use. And that fits the different of these topics that you would want to choose. So, rhetorical mode that you want to write on your final exam, which is not your essay, I repeat. You still have an argumentative essay, and we'll talk about that a little more in a little bit. But this is your final exam. You choose a rhetorical mode. Whatever strategy you would like to use, you can do so. The topic must be chosen from the list below that I give you that is on this. It says you may bring a detailed outline to class, but you must write the essay in class. I do allow you for the detailed outline while you're doing the respondent's quiz. You can have that outline there, but you're not allowed to have anything that's fully written out. And if you have a sheet of paper there, the respondent system is going to make you show that it's a piece of paper. It will then show me that piece of paper. Now, if you have a piece of paper there, you don't show it to the camera that's there, it's going to red flag you for academic integrity violation, and then you fail the course outright. If you have that sheet of paper there, you do need to show it to the screen, and then I will see it. I'll see it's an outline form and not in a full written essay form. And if it's an outline, you're perfectly fine. If it's an essay, well, you might as well not bother showing it. You just failed the course outright. But if you do have a sheet of paper on you while you're doing this quiz, you need to show respondents that you have that sheet of paper, and then it will red flag it. Don't freak out. It will red flag it, but then I get to look at it, and I'll say, hey, that's an outline. I'll let it by. You're perfectly good to go. But if you have a sheet of paper there, and it will know because of the type of thing that'll be, you're going to have to, with this system, you're going to have to make sure there's nothing possibly in the view of your camera that makes the system think that something is going on. If it does, it's going to flag it. I'm then going to look at that, and if anything is shady, again, you not only fail this final exam, you fail the course outright. Because if you earn a 0 for any reason on the final exam, you fail the course regardless of what your grade is. Now, you're going to probably fail anyways because the best grade you can get is 75 at that point, and you'd have to have some pretty good grades at that point not to just legitimately fail your own. Well, you're going to fail anyways because you just violated that is a massive academic integrity violation, and you just, or you didn't show up and do it, in which case, either way, you failed the course. So you are allowed to have that outline there, but you're going to have to show the outline. In fact, I'll have to have you actually show both sides of the sheet of paper, make sure there's nothing on the back. And then place it down, and that's perfectly fine to have. And then I'll be cool with it as long as it's an outline. But if you have like a full-fledged written essay and you're just copying like this, it'll know. If you're doing this, like that's why it'll know. If you have like, oh, the thing's hidden. Well, it might be hidden. The sheet might be hidden. But if you're constantly doing this, it's going to red flag you. And if you don't show that piece of paper and show me that with an outline, you fail the course. So make sure you show your camera, any and all sheets of paper that you have, that it is an outline, and you're fine. And respondents checks for that, including if it looks like you're fiddling with your phone, you fail. Like, this is the way we have to do things, because initially in an online course, this would be a proctored exam, but all the proctored exam spots and sites were already taken in the first week of the course, actually before this class even began, simply because we had a later start. The whole of everything started on a Wednesday prior to us starting Monday, and they were all gone by then, simply because We don't have as many sites, and we don't have as many spots because you have to, socially distance between the computers and all the systems and whatnot. So we have this system that works rather well and will, again, red flag anything they think is happening that's shady, including if they hear other people's voices in the background. And I get to look through it. I won't just ding you and place a zero in for you. I get to then see what all's going on, and then if I think it's perfectly okay, then you're fine. If it's something I'm, thinking you're being shady about, I'll put the zero, and I'll just go and just put zeros on everything you have, and you fail. So please make sure you show that screen everything and don't have anything weird going on in the background during this Proctor Respondus exam. And yes, your computer must allow Respondus to get on it, and you must have a webcam on said computer. Lacking either of these things is not an excuse. If you don't have it, either get it or you find one you can use just for the test itself, or you better come to campus and do the thing in a computer lab somewhere. There's no excuse around this, no matter what you say. And if you try, you will just fail the course. The scoring guideline that you have for this final exam is the same one you had for the first 3 essays in this course. So the 3 that have already been graded, that scoring outline is the same one you'll have for this final. In fact, that's the same for any work in a Comp 1 with the lone exception of the argumentative. And the reason is because the argumentative has research elements. We have a separate one. The Comp 2 one is used for strictly that argumentative essay because of the research elements. So this will be like the other 3. So thesis will have 5 levels, and each one is 4 points. The topic will have 5 levels, and it'll have 4 points each on those. The organization part will have 5 levels and will be 4 points in each of those levels. Grammar, spelling, punctuation, and usage, English language usage, is 5 levels, and it's 7 points per level. And then typographical issues, 5 levels, 1 point per level. So the same as, like I said, the first 3. So you're used to that one, and that will be the one that's used on your final. This, as I said before, is 25% of the overall grade. So can it hurt it? Yes. Can it help it? Yes. And like I said, this is the way you should look at this final exam. Take it seriously, but don't freak out about it. Take it seriously, but don't freak out about it. Don't like, oh my God, as long as you relax and you did well for the class and for most of this course, you should be fine. Because like I said, what I'm asking you for on this is a lot less than what I'm asking for you in so many of these other areas. And as long as you're prepared before you get in there, like I said, I can't allow you to have a fully typed out essay in front of you. But if you write your own essay aside from that to get yourself mentally prepared and your timing down, just as a practice, that's great practice. That's where I allow that outline to be there, as long as it's an outline form. And so you just look a little to, okay, this is what this paragraph's about, this with this paragraph, this with this paragraph, and here's the elements and all that. That's perfectly fine. And you can have all this prepared for yourself. Again, I'm giving you, like I said, it's open after you've been open for 2 days. I'm letting you know about it today. And you actually have 2.5 weeks to get it done. So that's plenty of time to get done what needs to get done in the preparing stages for this and then actually do the final exam. So again, as long as you just prepare, you should be fine. Although with one caveat to that is, yes, preparing is fine. You'll have all the structural stuff and everything. But when you're done with this, don't just be done with it. Like, I'm done, I'm happy, I'm done with this class, whatever. Well, technically you're not, because you still have that essay actually the essays due around the same time. Actually, yeah, the essay is actually due early that morning. So it's not completely done. Actually, now I'm looking at it, I say early that morning, all by a minute. The essays actually do around the same time, the argumentative. So in a sense, you are kind of done with the course, but don't be like, I'm done, just because, or you want to be done with it. Give yourself a few minutes to rest your brain, and then give yourself at least 10 minutes to edit, revise, and proofread, if not more. However much you have the 2 hours no matter what. So if you get this thing done, if it's written in 70 minutes, rest your brain for 5 minutes. That's 75 minutes. If you want to use the next 40 minutes to edit, revise, and proofread, you can do so. And I still always say, as in most things, those are 3 separate things. Most people, when you try to do it all at once, you do the revision part and then you lax and everything else, which is why you end up with a lot of 68 grades. Edit, revise, proofread, edit, revise, proof, all three, and do them all separately. The revision actually should just be quickly, because in most cases y'all do that really well and you knock that out of the park. But have the hone and focus on the editing and the proofreading. It's those little details that cost you all those points when you don't do that properly. So give yourself that time to do so, and then turn it in the system and you're good to go. But make sure this final can help you out. Again, this thing is easy compared to everything else you're doing in this class, and it can help. It can make B's into A's. It can make C's into B's. It can make D's into C's, and it can make F's into D's. And actually, you could even do better because of the amount of points. It's 25%. You can make F's into C's. You can make D's into B's and C's into A's if it's close enough in the range to where you can, make up for all of that bad stuff. Because that's 2.5 letter grades. It's just this final. I mean, if you combine this with the argumentative, almost half of the grade in this course is still out there for you. So if you put in the full effort on the argumentative essay and the full effort on this final, you can salvage a bad grade. You can also take a really good grade and chop it into pieces. Remember, you're for a whole semester, so get through the end of the semester. I mean, this course is over, believe it or not. 2.5 weeks, not even 2.5 weeks, and this class is over. So if you kind of give up right before the final, that makes no sense, especially since you put in so much effort and work this semester. Get to these things. I mean, this is 10 a.m. when this is due. The essay, a minute before. You'll be done with this course no later than 10:01 a.m. on December the 4th. Do all the relaxing you need to do after the fact. Do all the enjoying of no longer being in the class after that. You may have some other classes you have that go a little further, so therefore you can focus on those. Then there's a good thing there. You don't have to worry about this class, so you can focus on any of those classes in which you do have regular finals that bleed into normal finals week. So good, but get past the finish line. Don't collapse in front of the finish line. Get through the finish line, and then you can collapse all you want afterwards and do whatever you want afterwards. Or focus on the other classes if you have to deal with those. So, again, you've only got the 2 assignments left, as I noted before. The essay must be written in the assigned testing period. Failure to do so will result in failing grade for the course. So again, you have 120 minutes, 2 hours. Again, don't forget about it. If you're well prepared going in, you'll be able to finish at 70 minutes. Even if you don't prepare yourself, the 2 hours should be plenty because, again, you're used to writing and writing and writing. So it will be able to flow out to you. Now, you need to make sure you allow for the edit, revision, proofreading because it's going to come out. Needing a reorganization, you better have that amount of time there. But you'll still be able to do something. But my advice, again, prepare ahead of time, either with just an outline or if you want to write the whole thing out beforehand on your own, your timing and your ideas down, by all means do that, but you can't bring a fully written essay already in or fully typed an essay into the respondent's quiz, the respondent's system. You can bring the outline, but you better show me that line in both sides of that paper just to make sure you're not trying any shenanigans. If I think of you even have the idea that you're trying to pull something, I will fail you and will not think twice about it. So please don't try me. And so now the actual topics at hand, the topics in which you will utilize. One, definition of maturity, and let me be abundantly clear on this. I do not want Merriam-Webster's definition of maturity, or New America's definition of maturity, or Wikipedia's definition of maturity. First off, use Wikipedia on anything, you fail, and you deserve to fail. I don't want anybody's definition of maturity but yours. I want your definition of maturity. First things first, there's to be no outside source material whatsoever on this final. None. And I don't care if you memorized it or wrote it down as a part of your outline or typed that out as part of your outline. If there's any outside material that appears on this final exam, you failed the course. Can't be any more upfront about that. I want to know your definition of maturity. First off, you should already know not to have the Dry Borg Dictionary definition at all anyways, because I dinged you points for that a bunch. That is a cheap high school writing device that I cannot stand. The whole Dry Borg Dictionary definition, the famous person quote, I can't stand that either. course, never have a question be the thesis statement. It can't be a statement if it's a question. Don't even have a question anywhere near the thesis statement, to be honest. So those are the three things that sometimes happen in high school that just angers me to no end, and I have to clean that mess up. So even in that topic, a definition of maturity, again, I want your definition of maturity. To the second one, what is important to experience life? What do you think is important to experience life? Now, having said that, and on all these, authoritativeness is still key. So you wouldn't write this, my definition of maturity is blah, 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 or I think what's important. No, I think what's important to experience life is blah, blah, blah. No, those are both awful. It better be what you think. That's the whole thing. Whenever you type, I believe, I think, in my opinion, all that stuff, you're losing points. When you put in conclusion at the bottom, and at the very top of the concluding paragraph, you lose points. You should know that already. I've gone over it a bunch. Your authority goes out the window when you do that type of stuff. You lose points if it's anywhere in the essay. You lose double points if it's in the thesis or concluding paragraphs, because your authority is shot. You are no longer the authority of your own essay. No, what you say is, maturity is blah, 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 blah. What is important to, now, okay, let me rephrase it. I want a question. It is important to experience blah, 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 blah in life. That's how you should put that. Not I think, or I believe, or in my opinion. It better be your opinion. It's your essay. It better be what you think. It's your essay. It's better be, what you believe, what do you think, what is in your opinion. It is your essay. It better be including its concluding paragraph. Same rule applies to that. So I want to reemphasize that in case one of you thinks about doing that on your final. You could totally kill your final if you do things like that. On the third one, has technology helped or harmed us and why? And note it says with articles. I'll get that in a little bit. Are social networking sites good for society? Also with articles. First thing, well, I also want to say this one thing before I go into that. Do not title this essay a definition of maturity or what is important. Do not have your title be what I've just given you in any of those things. Why? As I've stated before, your title's first bit of creativity, you're right, you see. If you find a boring title, you expect a boring reading, you find it. And if it's the thing that I gave you, then yeah, you didn't want to think. You didn't want to use your thought process to actually give me a creative title. You just gave me back what I gave you, and I'm going to give you a grade that will reflect that. You will lose points if you do that. Be creative with your titles. Don't be boring. Do not title it final exam either. So I can tell some of you, I can tell you blue in the face, don't do this, and you'll do it. It's like, and then you wonder why you lose points. But back to these two, with articles. What does that mean? Well, you scroll down and you look, and there's an article, Work-Life Balance, Has Technology Helped or Hurt by Glenn Whitfield on April the 22nd, 2010. Well, that works on the third of the topics. And you scroll down any further, and you have a bunch of little mini articles. Are social networking sites good for society? A couple little mini pro articles and a couple mini con articles. And that works with your fourth topic of, are social networking sites good for society? Now, you don't have to use these articles if you don't want to on either of those two topics, but you can if you want. If you want to be completely from your own brain, that's fine. If you use topic 1 or topic 2, all of what goes into your final exam must come completely from your own brain. Use 3 or 4, at least half must come from your own brain, and no more than half comes from those articles. If that means you use 50-50, that's fine. But if you don't want to use the article at all, if all 100% comes from your brain, that's how it should go, and that's fine if that's the way you want it. But you have the articles if you'd like to use them, and they are available to you to have there. But again, understand that in all of your essays, even when you get to this research essay that we're, argumentative, and when it comes to this final exam, if you use any of those articles, the source material in the argumentative essay or the material handed to you, the inside sourcing from this, and by the way, you don't have to source, if it's part of an actual launch statement, that's perfectly fine, but don't put, parentheses at the end, and then don't have a reference page, or actually it would be a works cited page because the final is going to be MLA 8. The final is MLA 8, the argument of essay is APA, so one, you shouldn't have learned, I mean, hopefully you learned MLA in high school, but odds are you didn't. So you wouldn't even know how to do a works cited page to do one. You shouldn't anyways on the final exam. And if you try putting a reference page on that, you're doubly violating 1, because you're not supposed to have it on the final, and 2, you're not supposed to have it because the final exam's MLA, the argument is an APA. So no outside sourcing whatsoever. And even with the source I give you, those aren't outside sources, those are inside sources, so no need to source them. Now, if in the natural launch statement it happens to have some of that information, by all means, don't worry about it, you're fine. But don't have any parentheticals on this final exam, and do not have either a works cited page or a reference page. There's no need for it because there's no outside sourcing. So, but you can use these articles if you want, but you don't have to. But if you do use them, remember at least half of your final still needs to be your own thoughts and your ideas. But no matter what, this information, whether it be the research that you would use in your argumentative or these articles I give you for the final exam, it's not to dominate your essay. You dominate your essay. You're the authority. You're the ultimate ideas. And this information, if needed, is there to back you up. And I want you to have a full understanding of that, because some students will, all they'll do is, especially in the world where you use computers, just copy the largest quote you can and then plop it on your argumentative essay, I guess, and plop as many of those big quotes on the argumentative, which is research, and then have a little at the top and a little at the bottom. You think you've written an essay, no, you haven't. You just gathered a bunch of other people's ideas. I know you is in there. Your grade will reflect that, harshly reflect that. Final exam, again, while these articles and many articles are there to help you, the ultimate controlling idea and person within that essay of your final exam is you, your thoughts, your ideas. That's what should come through your final exam, and quite frankly, in any and all compositions you write about. So it's, it'll be 100 points. I will grade these sometime that day. That's why the due time is where it is. They come in early, I'll try to grade them early. If they don't come in until the very last moment, I'll do that then. Because, at 9:59 a.m., you can turn this thing in on December the 4th. At 10 a.m. on December 4th, it locks you out. You failed the course. So get it done early. Don't wait to the last minute of all things. You'd really be screwing yourself if you do that. But it is available now for you to do. So the instructions are there. I've just gone over them verbally. Hopefully cleaned up all those ends. It'll be 100 points. You're not allowed more than one attempt. You won't have the time to, quite frankly. Yes, you must have a computer that allows access to the Respondus Lockdown browser, and your computer must have a webcam. And if you don't have that, you need to find one, whether it be in somebody else's personal or whether you need to come to campus and do that. Then you must. There is no way around this. Don't give me any excuses. So this is important, not only because it's 25% of the grade, but this is the one work where I have complete confidence that you are who you say you are. So if it seems like there's something shady going on here, I assume you were shady the whole semester, and that alone would be enough to fail you out of the course. Not to expect its final exam. Both our rules would make me fail you anyways of the school and of this department, and quite frankly, it would probably be a failing grade anyways. You'd have no chance anything higher than C. If you had 100 and everything else, and then this was a 0, you'd have a chance of C, and that's probably not going to be an issue. It's a 0, it's a failure, and you fail the course if there's any issue with this. So take it seriously, but don't freak out. That's my ultimate advice when it comes to the final exam. I want to go into detail about that. Of course, I've already gone into detail prior about all of what we're dealing with when it comes to the argumentative essay. Already dealing with the argument theory and argument practice. Already dealing with research and how to not let it overwhelm you. APA style and understanding what all is different. Obviously, let's say your final exam, that's MLA 8. In the final exam, you will have a header, page header, and title. In your APA argumentative essay, you'll have a cover page. In your final exam, it won't have, will not have headers and subheaders in the MLA work, because you don't have headers, subheaders in MLA work, where APA will have the headers and the subheaders with the work that you're doing with for that. You won't have any, obviously, research on your MLA final exam, but if you did, you would have a works cited page, and you would have in-text empirical citations. You do have in-text empirical citations in APA, but you would have what is referred to as a reference page. Hopefully all of you have read the chapter 29. Technically, it's not assigned until next week, but I've kind of given you the go ahead to look over what you need to look over in all these areas all in advance, because it all needs to work in concert. these are all areas. I mean, they have to be separate in a sense simply because they are separate entities, but they all work together in concert to make up the overall APA essay that you will be utilizing, and making sure that it is done properly. Chapter 29, APA style, and dealing with all of these things. In fact, I'll go ahead and go myself because there should be an example one. Let's see, there we go. You do have an example APA style, which has, headers and subheaders in the actual composition itself. It shows you how to do a proper cover page. Also note that you will have what's called a running head in APA structure. It's, in MLA you have the page headers. Well, what you have in APA is the running head. And my advice is, of course, you should be using Microsoft Word anyways, but Microsoft Word will have APA templates, which will then allow you to they'll have the instructions noted in the location of where things are. You take the instruction out and then put what the instructions ask you to put, and you'll be set, because the running head, on the first page, you leave the words running head : and then you put your title there immediately afterwards, and the page number is there as well. It will automatically put that title without the words running head and that numbered page changed to denote the new page on each and every page of your composition, which is really, really nice. And then what is asked of you when it comes to your title, your name, and then the institution you're doing this for. So it would be whatever your title of your essay, then your name, and then Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College is all you really need to put as far as that. And then the next page, you have your abstract. Basically, with your abstract, as I noted before, you take the entirety of your essay and then you condense it again down to 150 to 250 words. This is highly important when it comes to scientific method, analytical essays, when it comes to dealing in the realm of business, dealing in business places which you need. I want all the scientific stuff, but in reality, I need to know now what I need to know now. If I want to delve into it, I can, but that abstract basically tells me everything I need to know in the most basic of terms. So for where I need to understand, I like this, or I'm not going to like this, it basically invites your reader to read on, or tells them don't bother. So the abstract is key in that realm. So again, the abstract, what you end up doing is taking the entirety of the essay that you've written and condenses it to 150 to 250 words, and the abstract is on the very second page. The first page is your cover page, the second page is your abstract. Where the abstract ends, you leave that blank space, and then you don't start your actual essay until the top of the third page. Now, the automatic function of APA when it comes to Microsoft Word, when you put your title in on the cover page, it should put your title back again on the first page of the regular part of the essay, which is going to be page 3. So it should show itself back up on both automatically. Keeps you from having to overkill, basically, because these automatic functions allow you to do it once, but not to do it a second time. So basically, when you type in your title, your basic title, the shortened title, I guess you would say, in all caps in the running head, it puts it on all the running heads and changes the page's numeration for the desired page. When you put the full title on your cover page, it puts it again on page 3 at the very top, and then you put your first level heading as introduction, and then note in the text how it tells you the first level headings are center bolded and capitalized, and then that can change depending on what all else is asked for within the essay. It can be the same if that's the way you want it to be. It can change in location as well, depending on what type of essay. But to be brutally honest, the type of essay that you're going to write, you're not going to really need to do that. So, particularly with the more modern, because they had an APA update. You may notice the template says student copies include the 2020 APA update. You're probably just saying 2020 APA update, which is great because guess what? They had an update. They had one this very year, early this year, and or actually kind of late last year, going early this year. MLA will give updates fairly, not a lot, but every 7, 8, 9 years. APA, I don't think it's been 20, 25 years since the last update. So in many ways, it makes it a lot simpler to do, one of which being the headers and subheaders. they used to ask that it's all in different locations. Now it's just asking it to be centered. You may have the template that's an old template, and that might be an area where you might have to override the template, because I'll be cool either way simply because of the template or this. But do understand in future APA writings, you're going to want to make sure that thing's going to be centered, because with the new rules, they pretty much want them all centered, which is fine. That's the way they want it. Of course, double space that goes along with saying, because everything should be that way. And like I said, go on through the chapter for all the little extra details that you need. All the structural things that I noted before about not being too long, not being too short, come into play. This one paragraph is almost too short. Just kind of eyeballing it. But just use this as kind of the guide as how you have things. And then you have the entire essay written, and then you have your reference page for the argumentative, and then note how that is listed, and then you should be good to go as far as that. And you'll notice, if you've written MLA before, MLA research, you'll notice the similarities and the difference between APA and MLA. I will say this, one of the things that both MLA and APA have done, they've made it, each kind of worked kind of to a center. They're not the same by any means, but they're close as they have ever been. They used to be insanely apart. And then MLA a couple, 5, 6, 7 years ago, moved a little closer, and then APA last year moved a little closer. Never going to be the same, because there's a reason they're separate entities. That's for intent, because APA deals with more science, math, engineering, the STEM stuff, science, obviously. Things where you need more data, it's a lot drier. Whereas MLA, Modern Language Association, it's about the fluidity of the English language of all modern languages, Spanish, French, Indian, all non-dead languages. So there's a reason they are the way they are, but they're trying to make it simpler for the student, because it used to be, you used to have to remember two completely separate things. Not to be back in my day, but you used to have to remember two completely separate things depending on what you were wanting to use. I actually got lucky in a weird way, because I went to Ole Miss, and in general, most of the time, you're only learning MLA for those lit courses, for the foreign language courses, and then APA applies to everything else. And you had to learn both. I learned APA simply because I was taking an English course, but because the English department at the time, now it's broken up to writing and rhetoric and literature, had so much sway and so much power, because it's one of the best ones in the country. It had the rest of the university, for the most part, running on MLA, even those scientific things. So it was kind of fascinating to think about. Most universities are dominated by the STEM stuff, because that's a lot of the money makers, quite frankly. But we had enough big name writers who threw a lot of money. It may be different now, simply because Ole Miss has added more STEM stuff. At State, it's definitely more STEM, because that's what made their mark. So APA is more dominant there. But you used to have to remember and learn both of those, and then Chicago style, if you were actually very fortunate. Chicago style used to be political science's big thing, but because MLA had such sway at Ole Miss, even Ole Miss's poli-sci MLA, so I was lucky there. So it's a lot simpler for you than it used to be. If the textbook seems a little too dry, my advice is to go on what's called the Purdue OWL website. It may be able to explain to you a little better, a little more modern. That's run out of Purdue University up in Indiana, and maybe more of a practical use thing. Of course, you can use the Sunday citation machines and all of those when it comes, but make sure it's on the correct one. It's the most modern of APAs, and you have to make sure you fill in all the information. The big mistake a lot of students make with the Sunday citation machines and things like that is they don't have nearly enough information to plug into it for Sunday citation machine to make it all look like it's supposed to. So then you have all these gaps, and then you place it on your essay, and then I'm wondering why these gaps are there when I know that information exists, and then you get a little bit of trouble there. So if you use a Sunday citation machines, which are perfectly fine to use, it is up to you to make sure any and all that information is plugged in where it's supposed to. So that's as far as I'm going to go, because this is already going way too long, unfortunately. I hate that the video is so long, but I've got to cover 2 weeks worth of information, and to be brutally honest, it's rather important information. The final exam, and going thoroughly through it as possible, getting a little bit of that. I mean, I've already given some when it comes to the research and the APA and the argumentative stuff, but just trying to make sure you have all the elements of what you need. I mean, the good news, at least on some of those things, is that in 2 weeks I can clean up whatever loose ends I need to for the video in 2 weeks, but it's not going to help you if you're deciding you want to get all this done next week. So hopefully I have. If you have any questions, you need to get the email into me no later than really 10:30 on Friday. If not, then you can send the email, but it's not going to be answered until I get back on November the 30th. And then you've only got 5 days before both anything deal with the final exam is due, anything with the argumentative essay is due, because this class ends December the 4th. I mean, we're 2.5 weeks and this class is over. Really, 1.5 weeks of physical time because I won't be here on campus next week. So if you have any questions, get them to me as soon as possible to correct whatever things need to be corrected, or to fully explain these certain things that may aren't as fully explained through these videos. But then the key with a lot of this is, and this is something I've learned with some of y'all aren't watching the videos or you aren't paying attention to the videos. And I don't know simply for that, simply because what's the difference between you not paying attention to a video and you not paying attention in class? I have students who show up to classes and there's just bumps on the log, and then they wonder why that is so awful, and then they tell you that you didn't explain something, and boy, do you want to make an instructor mad when they've explained something and you say they didn't. And then, I mean, I've straight said, okay, who in this class heard that I explained this? And then everyone's raised their hand except for that one person. Got to pay attention, and especially with online, this is the only way we have to communicate as far as in a purely online course. I can do some through written, but then some of you don't learn as well through the written part. You try to hit as many angles as possible, but it's just not going to be able to work as much as you see fit. So if you have individualized questions, send me the email. But if you don't have it into me by, mid to late morning on Friday, it won't get answered. I mean, still send the email, but it won't get answered until I get back on the Monday after Thanksgiving. So that's it. As far as this video is concerned, there will be one more video in this course, and that's it. And that video will either be December the 1st or December the 2nd. So hope you're all well. Hope you all, if you do get a break, enjoy Thanksgiving next week and the break that comes with it. If you don't, you're not alone. Many people, and I've had to do it before. I've had to work on Thanksgiving before, so it's not fun, but you do what you got to do. Get done what you got to do in your life, and get done what you got to do for this class and all of your classes. And I will send another video in a little less than 2 weeks from today.